I've never used TikTok. I don't even have the app installed on my phone. However, my producer, also known as my wife, has decided that today it'd be funny to raise my blood pressure, so she's selected a bunch of videos and downloaded them to my phone, and we're going to watch them and react together. So from this point forward, the video is rated P for passionate and U for uncensored. Let's get into it.
When you don't pay the debt collectors, which by the way, to the audience, you should never pay a debt collector because the debt doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the debt collector. Let me explain this to you. If I owe Amex $1,000 and I say I refuse to pay you, right? And they sell my debt to ABC Debt Collections Company, LLC. The debt doesn't belong to James Chang anymore. The debt belongs to ABC Debt Collectors. Why should I pay a debt that doesn't even belong to me anymore? Most people get scared because debt collectors, if you don't pay, we're going to garnish your way. They get scared. No, it's against the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. You don't have to pay debt collectors.
What? No, wait. Okay, I don't know what the rules are in America, but my wife loves these videos on YouTube about don't pay, we'll take it away. Typically, these are people who haven't paid debts, and the bailiffs will go around and actually take stuff from somebody's house. You have to pay debt collectors. If you have borrowed money, you are making a promise to pay it back. You don't get to just not pay the debt collectors because the person that you borrowed from originally has sold that debt on to somebody else. That's just how that works. Right, what's the next one?
Why don't you tell me how much was spent last month?
It was my birthday month, so probably like $10,000.
$10,000. Sorry, my heart sunk when I heard her say it. We didn't spend £10,000 on our wedding. I assume they don't make $10,000 a month. I'd have to go look up the actual episode. But $10,000 on your birthday. Like, if you don't have $20,000 in cash, meaning you can't afford, or £20,000 in cash, you can't afford to buy it twice, you can't afford to buy it. $10,000 on your birthday. Wow.
How much was spent?
Probably about the 10.
Okay, and you find that to be reasonable. Again, 6,500 comes in, and you find 10 to be reasonable?
Birthday month.
You're aligned with this birthday month thing.
So they earned 6,500 between them, and they spent 10,000 on her birthday.
It was her birthday.
Her birthday.
I'm trying not to swear.
What do I give it about her birthday?
Birthday month. Okay, let's take a second. Can we get away from all of these months? Like, things used to have a day. And even for some things, that was too much. Can we not have a month for everything? There's only 12 months in the year. So, no. And Christmas doesn't start in October.
You know whose birthday it's about to be? The 2-year-old. And guess what? That 2-year-old is going to grow up and have to take care of their parents because their parents never saved up for retirement.
That's another 10 for the kid.
Huh?
That's another 10 for the kid, basically every birthday.
Their birthdays are a
the
day
same
apart.
day.
So it's one day.
Do you guys not even give
What? Another 10 for the kids? Why? What? Why are people spending, even if it's $5,000 each, $5,000 on your kid's birthday month? I might actually be sick. I made this joke in the last video. I might actually be sick. I knew people where I felt they were buying their partner's love, and they were spending £500 maybe on their birthday, but it was like buying a season ticket for a football game and a signed shirt or something, and it was like £500. And that made me sick. Like 6 years ago. £5,000 per kid per birthday for their month. £10,000 for them. I'm sorry, if you have this kind of mindset, if you have this mindset that you can spend more than you earn at all, never mind on your birthdays, and then on everybody else's birthday in your family, you just want to be poor. You want to be poor. I don't know.
what I just said?
Yeah.
Because of your birthday month, your special little 26-year-old, and having barely anything in for retirement. Is this funny? Is this comedic?
Sir. No, sir.
Your kid is going to have to put their life on hold to take care of his or her irresponsible parents because they thought this was funny.
Well, that's why we're here.
I will say one thing, right? let's assume they had the money. The best thing these people could do for their kid, if they've got the money, is invest the money in the UK in a junior pension. Like, the kid won't be able to touch it until they're 10 years before pension age, and it will compound for the whole of their life. Right now, retirement age is 68 in the UK. It's probably going to go up though, right? Well, let's say it's 68, so the earliest they can take the money out is 58. If you invested the maximum into a child's junior pension from the day they're born, and you filled it every year, and it compounded up till 18, then you didn't put any more in, and that just ran through till they were 58, that would be some stupid amount of money that you set your kid up for retirement. It's the best thing you probably do for them. But just wasting $5,000 per kid when you don't have it on probably rubbish and toys that they won't even remember because they're 2 years old, and really they're just spending it on themselves, not on the kid. It's irresponsible, and I hate these people. Okay, I'm angry now.
You've got 33k sitting in your bank account. Are you dumb? Where else would I keep my money? I don't know, maybe somewhere that paid you more than 0.1% in interest a year? Cut. Can you just explain to people what accounts they actually need? Well, there are only 5 types that anyone needs to have. That sounds more like it.
I don't have 5 accounts, so I'm interested now to find out what these 5 accounts might be.
First, a current account. And what's that? This is the backbone of your personal finances. It's where all of your money's gonna go into, but none of it's gonna be stored in there. Second, an emergency fund. An emergency what?
An emergency fund is not a type of account. You can't go to a bank and say, I'd like to open an emergency fund. So this is a little bit misleading. I agree you should have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months. I don't know what he's going to say on here, but it's not a type of account. You can't go to a bank and open an emergency fund. What he might be talking about is, say, like a high yield savings account. Quite a lot of current accounts will come with a high yield savings account attached to them these days. So when you're looking at opening a new current account, have a look for that and see if there's like a regular saver or some sort of higher interest savings account that's attached to the current account. And then you can use that to keep your emergency fund for your liquid cash that you might need in an emergency. But it's not a type of account. You can't open that.
Third, a short-term savings account. A pot of money for financial goals you have in less than 5 years. Think a house deposit or potentially a wedding.
These are financial goals. These are not accounts. The premise of the video is set up all wrong. He's not telling you or helping you actually know what account you should open. He's saying, these are 5 pots of money you should have. At this point, I would just be sticking things in an ISA.
Fourth, a tax-free investment account. In the UK, this is called a stocks and shares ISA, and it's for the money that you don't plan on needing for the next 5, 10, 15 years. The longer, the better.
I think that's a bit too far. Yes, when you invest in stocks, you should have at least a sort of 5-year time horizon, because stocks can go down, stocks can go up. But I've got my emergency fund for my immediate liquid cash. I'm not then gonna put another chunk of money for something that I might need in the next 5 years. I'm just gonna stick it in the stock market. Like, if I was renting and I wanted to purchase a house and I put the money in the stock market and it crashed a little bit, I just keep investing. And then when the money came back up, I would buy at that point.
And fifth, a pension account. This will either be through your employer or if you're self-employed, through a SIP. And remember, the earlier you start, the better. Early. General practice is to take your age and divide it by 2. That is the percentage of your salary that you should be putting towards your pension between now and when you retire.
I was doing the Dave Ramsey 15% of your gross income should be going into pension. Yeah, I think it was Martin Lewis I first heard it on, or it might have been one of these other podcasts, I'm not sure, where they said half of your age as a percentage of your household income should be paid into pension, through your work pension or into a SIP. And I totally agree with that. The video in general didn't have any bad advice. I just think it wasn't clear when he said at the start there are 5 types of accounts, because it can be confusing to someone who goes into a bank and says, I'd like to open an emergency fund, and I'd like to open up a short-term savings account, or whatever it was he said. Those don't exist. If you go to the bank, they're gonna go, what do you want? A savings account, a current account, an ISA?
The second sign that you're above average financially, you've got more than $1,000 in savings. That may not sound like a big achievement, but over 1/3 of Americans have no savings at all, as in $0. Guys, toddlers have more money in their piggy bank than the average adult. This is not okay.
I think when I was reading Martin's textbook, the Your Money Matters textbook, I'm gonna get this wrong, but I'll put it on the screen again, but like I think this is like 70% of people in the UK don't have £100 in their bank account. So, I mean, I heard that there was some crazy statistic that like half of people in the UK couldn't pay for a £700 emergency or unexpected charge without going into debt. There's this trend going about people talking about what is their zero balance, like what's the amount in your account that you never go below, and would freak out if your balance went below that. Well, it's kind of strange for me on that because I keep most of my money in investments. So my current account, I actually only have £100 in. I do that because I basically self-insure, if you will, or self-provide myself that £100. I see it as an overdraft, but it's not, because I never have any overdrafts on my bank accounts and I don't think anybody should. So instead of having a £100 overdraft, I always make sure that the baseline of my account every night is at £100. If you've not got £100 in your account, then you might want to just re-look at your priorities and decide what you want to cut down on, or what you can cut down on and cancel. Typically it's subscriptions, so that you can start saving up at that £50 a month into an emergency fund. Because emergencies happen, and if you've got the savings, as Dave Ramsey would say, an emergency becomes an inconvenience. You know, my wife's car has had a couple of flat tires just randomly because they're low profile tires, so as soon as you hit basically anything, the tiniest pothole on a Scottish road, they burst and go down. We're lucky enough that when that happens, we have the money in the emergency fund to pay for it. So whilst it's frustrating waiting for the recovery guy, that emergency did not put us into debt. It just becomes an inconvenience. We just go, not again, but we'll just pay out the emergency fund. It gives you that peace of mind because you can quite quickly end up in a debt spiral if you have to start using debt to pay for emergencies.
The way to always go with a car is buy it outright if you can, secondhand, and 3 to 5 year old. That is like the sweet spot where it's depreciated enough at someone else's expense and it won't depreciate as much when you have it. If you are someone who doesn't mind making the less financial savvy choice and wants a nice cool car every couple of years, but is happy to pay with the extra cost that comes with it, then rent.
Okay, I'm going to stop her there. Because she said, if you're okay with paying the extra expense, then rent a car. I don't think that's the way you should look at it. I forget which rapper or singer said it. If you can't afford it twice, you can't afford it, right? It doesn't matter if you're okay with the payment. We live in a world now, and this really frustrates me, that people look at their monthly take-home pay, and then they look at their payments, and then whatever's left, they go, okay, I've got that chunk, I could add another payment of that amount, and I'll be fine. Well, that's assuming everything's going to be fine. What if you lose your job? What if you get made redundant? What if an emergency happens? It's not about if you're okay with making the payment. It's, can you make the payment comfortably? I would say if you've got your house in order, if you're paying half your wages as a percentage into pension, if you've got your 3 to 6 month emergency fund, you know, and you've got an ISA that you are putting a fair chunk into every year and investing in the market, and after that you can afford to pay the car lease payment twice with your remaining disposable income, then you're fine. Go ahead and do that. But I'm going to make a video about this later. That's the number one thing keeping people in the Western world poor, are car payments. So I agreed with the start of her video. Buy a car outright cash if you can avoid it. You know, and that will mean buying second hand. And she's right. After 3 years old, cars typically become cheaper to buy because that's when they have to start being MOT'd and a lot of the other requirements kick in.
What would you tell a 20-year-old who wants to become a millionaire?
I'd say take the money out of the equation and focus on one thing only. Try to find something you do very, very well. And then practice the hell out of it until you become very, very, very good at it. And then you don't have competition. You're going to be the top of your heap, whatever that heap is. And money automatically comes with being the top.
Agree. For a long time, I have said people should do what it is that they can do best to make the most amount of money. And I don't really care if it's something that you like or something that you necessarily enjoy. Find something that you are good at. I forget the guy's name now. He was on Diary of a CEO. But he said something like, work your skill, not your passion. And he's right. The fastest way to become a millionaire is find something you are damn good at, get a niche in that field, become the best, and then make sure everybody knows it. And stop saying, I don't want. You know, we talked about that. I've got a video on it. I think it's called These 3 Words Are Keeping You Poor. Start looking at opportunities as, how can I do this? Have I done this before? No. Is it scary? Yes. Could I do it? Could I fake it till I make it? Yes. You know, what's the payoff for me? Is it an adventure? Then if yes, go and do it.
Is it possible to retire in 7 years, starting with $0? Yes.
Is it possible that I'll win the lottery this weekend? Well, yes. If I bought a ticket, I could, it's possible, win the lottery and become a millionaire tonight. Is it likely? Is it going to happen for most people? Probably no.
If you start from zero and you save half of your wage and you invest it into a global index tracker, then you can retire in 15 years.
There is absolutely no way that's right.
He said 7 years. The guy said yes, and then he said if you can save half your wage, you can retire in 15 years. Who can afford to save half their wage? I don't know who these TikToks are talking to, right? I mean, I'm unemployed right now, but I'm soon to be back employed, and I'm going to be a relatively well-paid person, and I will not be able to save half my wage.
What is the median UK salary? The median salary is 33k. You'll take home £26,287.
You'll take home £2,184 a month if you earn 33k in the UK, which is the median. How many of you have rent that's less than £1,000? And that's probably even for small properties. When I lived in Preston a few years ago, we were renting a 1-bedroom flat in Preston, which is the worst place to live in the UK. And I was paying £700 a month just for the flat for a 1-bedroom in Preston. So how many of you have rent that's less than £1,000? Then you got your car payment, which I'm sure most of you have, probably £400 or £500. Gas and electric, food, fun, whatever else. You're not saving £1,000 if you only take home £2,000. It's just not possible.
Final value of portfolio? Are you mad?
I'm sorry, but in the UK, you cannot retire on £500,000. You just can't. If I retired at 34, and I don't have £500,000, just for the record. Even if I did, I couldn't retire on that. I wouldn't be able to maintain my lifestyle. And he still failed. You haven't become a millionaire.
I mean, yeah, we're going to have to pay tax on that, but say capital gains tax is 20%.
He's wrong. You don't have to pay capital gains tax because you would invest it in a stocks and shares ISA. The 13,000 is less than the 20,000 limit of the ISA, so any returns that you got on that would be tax-free. So you wouldn't pay capital gains on any of that, and so he's actually wrong. If you're doing it in a way that you do end up paying tax on it, you've done it wrong and should stop watching videos like this and, you know, learn something. This is a 9-minute video, and it starts off with, I have £40,000 in credit card debt. My credit card limit is not £40,000. I don't think it ever, no, it never has been. The max I think my credit card limit has ever been is about 15,000, and that scared me. £40,000 of credit card debt.
I have $40,000 in credit card debt. I was 19 years old and I was dating a man who was 31, and he did not support me or help me financially in any way.
He shouldn't have. You were dating him. Women need to learn that men are not wallets. It's not just an extra bank card for you to spend our cash. We have an equal society today. Men and women are equal. Men and women get paid equal for the same job if they are doing the same job. Actually, I have experienced women earning more than men now. You can't make an excuse that I was dating this guy and he didn't financially support me. That's not an excuse. He's not your dad. He's not your wallet. You are a grown adult at 19. Take responsibility for your own finances. If you're looking for someone to be your wallet, then that's just terrible. And if you're in that much debt, no one's gonna, well, marry you or come near you anyway, because, you know, you're a liability to their financial future.
I was trying to live his lifestyle off my minimum wage job, and I was living outside my means, to be quite frank.
Woe is me, I'm the victim. I was trying to live the same lifestyle as this guy that I was dating on credit cards. Well, no, how about being honest with him and just saying, I can't afford that. If you want to do it, you can pay. And again, then it's up to him if he chooses to pay for that or not. But if he doesn't, then you should be okay with that and do a cheaper activity together that you can both afford without going into debt. This same advice goes for if you're going out with friends. If friends say to you, hey, do you want to go bowling? You know, and if you can't afford it, no, I can't afford it. Let's go for a walk. Let's walk the dogs. Let's do something else. Let's meet at your house for a coffee. People need to stop trying to act richer than they are and just be honest that they can't afford it or they want to do something cheaper. It's not that difficult.
Here are 3 things not to do until you're rich. Number 1, buy a luxury lifestyle. 5-star hotels, expensive meals and designer clothes. The list goes on.
Yes and no. Don't live the luxury lifestyle when you've just, say, got your first job, or you don't have an emergency fund in place. You've not got a small portfolio of assets and things like that in say, a stocks and shares ISA. Completely agree. However, on the flip side, and my wife will always tell me this, there's a balance between saving for the future and living now. And it's a careful balance, and I struggle with it because I'm a saver, and she's probably more of the spender in our relationship, if I'm entirely honest. You do have to strike that balance. We went on our honeymoon to Japan for a month, and we stayed, over the course of that month, we stayed in 2 5-star hotels. But we also then stayed in a number of other sort of hostel and, you know, like a basic sort of travelers type place. We stayed in loads of those as well across Japan. So we enjoyed luxury occasionally, but not all the time.
Number 3, lend to friends and family. This always leads to trouble as they're never going to pay you back. If you really want to help them out, give them the money and call it charity.
Completely agree. Again, I've ran into issues with this over my life. Don't lend money. I know it seems crazy, but if you lend somebody money, you're just going to provide a level of stress and animosity, is that the right word, between you and your friends or your family, whoever you're lending that money to, because they might have promised to pay you back. Maybe they're not paying you back, or not paying you back as quickly as you'd like them to, or at the pace that they promised to, and then they tell you they're going on holiday. And you're like, but wait a second, you owe me £100, how can you go on a £1,000 holiday? And that's going to break down that relationship.
When should you use a debit card and when should you use a credit card?
You should only use a debit card when you're withdrawing cash.
So you use your credit card to buy everything?
Yeah, and when I buy this, I get points that I can use to claim cash back and free flights.
Nah, it's not worth the risk.
Not using a credit card is far riskier. Because if something like that happens, they can completely drain your bank account. I don't have to worry using that card because I can dispute the charges and never be out of pocket.
I want to do a video in the future about the friction of money. I'm not against credit cards if people want to use them and if people are financially strict and mature enough that they do pay it off every month. However, I believe the statistics, again, I gave like Dave Ramsey or something, that they said that if you spend money on a credit card, you're more likely to spend something like 17% more than you would if you were spending on a debit card. You know, they're trying to remove the friction of money, meaning the actual like handing money to somebody, that it triggers a pain point in your brain. And my approach to credit cards is I use a 0% credit card to purchase large online purchases because I want the Section 75 protection. Meaning if the goods or services don't get delivered, I can charge it back. But you only have the protection above £100. I think it's between £100 and like £30,000, something like that. My account only ever has £100 in it, and there's no overdraft. So if someone takes my card and tries to drain my account, the maximum they're going to get from me is £100, which I can dispute. So I don't agree with spending everything on a credit card because an emergency will happen. Most people in the UK can't afford a £700 emergency. So this all works well and fine until they get a £700 emergency. Now they can't pay off their credit card, now they are paying interest, and now they're in a death spiral. Thank you for watching me go through this pain. If you got value from this video somehow, please hit the like button, share, comment down below, join the discussion, and subscribe. If you want to watch another video, then YouTube thinks this is the next one that you'll enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.